Welcome to a Community Partners interview where we explore the organizations, opportunities, and resources that look to make change in our daily lives. I'm your host, Paige Whitehouse, and you're listening to Voices for Ability Radio, all abilities, all the time. Today, I'm joined by Steffanie Bjorgan, the Executive Director for Red Roof Retreat. The Red Roof Retreat provides quality recreational and respite services to children, youth, and young adults with special needs and their families. Red Roof Retreat will develop a place where relationships are developed, awareness created, and bonds are nurtured through understanding and respect for each individual's special needs. They create opportunities for relationships to develop and for skills to grow. Thank you for joining us today, Steffanie.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
For our first question, tell us a bit more about you and what inspired you to work at Red Roof Retreat and why work with individuals with disabilities.
So, where do I start? I've been on this planet for 60 years. And years ago, when I was starting my family, I was a young school teacher. And I had 3 boys. And my second son was born with severe cerebral palsy. And that's that sort of fork in the road where you think you're going one way in life, and guess what? You're going a whole different way. So, in a nutshell, it's my own son, Garrett, that has been the impetus for pretty much everything that I've ever done with Red Roof.
Okay. And how did Red Roof Retreat get its start?
So, there was a time, as most people will know, caring for someone with special needs, finding support and people that can deliver the right level of care can be challenging. We're not like we can't get the 16-year-old babysitter from down the street to come help us with our kids. And so there was a time when my youngest son was 11 months old. My husband had a broken arm, and I got very ill and was hospitalized for 11 days. And while I was trying to deal with my health issue, I was also trying to get support for my husband and my boys. And I was told that they couldn't give us any extra funding or support. You had to apply ahead of time. And that was really challenging for me because nobody can plan these emergencies, as we all know. And so I laid there in the hospital. Oh, am I still there? Sorry. And thought, wow, how can we change this in the future for an emergency, but in general, of providing respite for families like mine? So, as they say, what's that? Invention comes from necessity. So, I think that's probably what I went through.
And when doing my research, I saw that you have a couple of programs. Can you tell us a bit more about your programs?
Yeah, so we have 3 locations. So we started out with the summer camp. One of the challenges I faced with my son, who was in a wheelchair and tube fed, was that there were no rec programs in the community that were accessible, nor would they have had the staff to support the care he needed. And it created a bit of a gap between what my other boys could do and what Garrett could do. And so I thought, well, I'm a teacher and I'm home all summer and I like being outside. Why don't I start some summer camps? And I was also working part-time at the Niagara Children's Center, which is a treatment center for children with special needs in the region. And so I did sort of a pilot with them at their location. And to say it took off is an understatement. And so what started as summer camp sort of launched us into where we are now, because as we spoke to families, we started to gauge what they were looking for. And basically, it was some form of respite, which means a break from the day-to-day care of a loved one. And so that led us into forming our charity and starting weekends of respite. So the kids would come to us and have their sleepovers with their buddies, and the parents and siblings could have a break. So that led us to summer camp, weekends of respite. And that was great, but kids do what all kids do, and that is they grow up. And so we realized that during their teen and youth years, there was gaps in services and recreation and respite. We realized that when they were adults and no longer in school, they were coming home to their parents, which has many, many impacts. And so we grew into 3 levels of day program, youth night, Saturday camp. We've done horseback riding in the past. So I think that's all of our programs. And the focus is that program is client-centered and meaningful.
And And can you tell us a little bit more about the youth night and what activities are in summer camp?
Well, like most youth, they want to hang out together, watch movies, eat pizza, do games on their phones, but they have limited opportunity to connect with other youth. So we facilitate the space for them to do all those typical teen things. And then we add activities as well. So, depending on the level of the youth coming in, um, we might have sensory games, we might have community outings, we might have visitors, we might have a movie night. If you think of what any teen likes to do, those are the opportunities that we try to provide.
I also remember you saying that you have 3 different locations. Can you tell us where your other locations are?
Yep. So our flagship property is an 11-acre hobby farm called the Ranch. And the focus on that was to give people with special needs access to nature, animals, peace, quiet, hence the word retreat. Because for so many of our kids, their lives have been medical appointments, therapy, clinical settings. And I wanted to do a complete detour from that. And it was also a safe space where it was designed for their needs, not the other way around. So it's a farm that's definitely barrier free. So that's our location called the Ranch. And we do our summer camps there. We do children's respite, and we do one of our day programs. And then when our kids got older, we realized we still needed respite for when they became adults. So we bought a second location, which is an adult respite house. And we run another day program out of there. And then our third location is at Cornerstone Church in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And this community church really stepped up for us, especially during COVID. We were in a long-term care unit before that, sharing space. And of course, that wasn't going to work. And this church stepped forward, and they definitely honor the word community. And they've been giving us space to do a day program there and our rec programs. And it's been really lovely.
And for the ranch, are there many different animals or is it just the horses?
We have big horses, we have mini horses, we have a donkey, we have rabbits, we have a goat that likes to escape, and we have everybody's favorite, Wilbur the pig, and of course, barn cats everywhere.
I also saw on your website that you have a future expansion happening. What does that entail?
So that is our most exciting accomplishment to date. When we bought the ranch, we had your typical 3-bedroom bungalow that we made accessible. But it had its limits in terms of building capacity. And this was our 25th anniversary this year. So we have been saving money, working with donors on creating an endowment fund so that we could launch a brand new build. And so it was with a lot of melancholy, we knocked down the ranch house, but we are now in the process of building a much bigger facility. So it's 3 times the size, it's 2 stories. Individualized bedrooms, extra activity rooms, elevators. It's going to be the Taj Mahal of respite homes. So it's going to be bigger and brighter. And we're hoping to build our capacity once it's all completed next
That's
fall.
awesome. And hopefully
It
when you
is.
guys get it all going, we can bring you back on as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And are there any restrictions to the services at Red Roof Retreat, such as age, disability type, caregivers, or family members only, things of that nature?
Our only criteria, because as a nonprofit, we have to recognize our limits. And so when we do an intake with families, there is a criteria. So what we say is if a young person is in need of more than one-to-one care due to behavior that might be making it vulnerable for other clients that are there. So if they were a danger to themselves, other, or property, we recognize that if the main diagnosis is behavioral, they're probably more successfully served in places like Bethesda or Mainstream. We don't have the ability to do that. But in terms of complex care, which is what I think makes Red Roof stand out, we are able to deliver all the levels of medical care. So we have clients that have trachs and G-tubes and seizure disorders. And that's where our skill set really lies. So, you'd see such a variety of people when you come to our facility. But I think that's what distinguishes us, is that we're able to manage the more medically complex care clients.
And without using any names, can you share a success story with me? What supports are put in place when someone asks for help?
I think, are you asking in terms of the client or the family?
Either or.
Well, I think what I hear often from families is that when they know they've got respite coming on the horizon, it's like a light at the end of the tunnel. It's the reason to keep going. You have to imagine the sheer pressure these families are on personally, emotionally, financially. They're juggling everything most young families have to juggle, but they have added responsibilities. And so I think we take the burden off of them by allowing them a break. And so for many families, we've heard is that's what keeps them, on the path, that keeps them sane. It keeps them connected to, the rest of their family and the community, is that they know they're going to get a break because they're leaving their loved ones with us. I think the success for the kids is I don't see too many children that are crying when their parents drop them off. They're excited to be there. They learn pretty quickly that this is their place and it's going to be fun and they're going to have friends and great caregivers. So I think the success is on the smile of everybody's faces, because we have clients that have been coming to us for the full 25 years. I think the relationships we create is the biggest success.
Oh, that's amazing. And yeah, it's always good to have a break and always good to see all your friends, right?
Absolutely.
What is the one thing that you see happening over and over again to individuals with disabilities that shouldn't be, and how do we stop it?
Oh boy, there's a lot of things. I think from the top down is there just isn't enough funding for families to access all the supports they need. I think the financial burden on families and how limited clients are to get everything they need that they deserve to have a full and dignified life. I think that's where we're falling down as a society. That, and when we plan things, whether it's program or spaces, what we say is accessible and inclusive often isn't. And so, we'll be excited about something new we see in the community, but we get there and everything from parking to entering the building to providing proper bathroom facilities, especially for larger clients, it becomes such a challenge. And, bathrooms in particular, go into any bathroom that says it's accessible. And now imagine going in with the wheelchair with an adult that needs personal care, but there's a little plastic fold down diaper table on the wall. So again, I don't know that we are as inclusive and as accessible as we say we are as a society.
Yeah, inclusivity is really needed. And I agree with when they build new architecture that is not always accessible when they build new ones either.
Yeah. It seems to meet a code, but it doesn't necessarily meet a need.
And are there any events coming up for Red Roof Retreat?
We just kicked off our 15th annual Gifts from the Heart campaign. It's a holiday campaign that runs from now till the first week in January. It is by far the easiest way to give, because you just click on our Donate Now button. You get a tax receipt within 3 minutes. And it's a kind of cool way to give because A, it's the end of your tax season. B, it simplifies gift giving because it's a gift with meaning. So you could say it's a gift that keeps on giving. You can do donations in lieu of someone else's name. You could do a business Christmas challenge to raise money and donate that way. So this is really a small window where you don't even have to leave the comfort of your home to make an impact on our home. You just have to click and give, and it sure adds up. We've had some years where we've made $100,000 in 6 weeks. And, our staff isn't working to prep event. Guests don't have to show up. It's just click and give and make an impact. That's our favorite kind of campaign.
And how did Gift with a Heart get its start?
So we, many, many years ago, well, 15 to be exact, I had a very philanthropic and successful businessman want to give us a Christmas gift. And he wanted to give me $10,000. And he said, I'll challenge you if you can make 10,000, I'll double it. And I said, okay, so like turn your 10 into 20. And he's like, yep. So I said, okay, so we'll call the campaign, help us turn 10 into 20. And we turned it into 60. And that sort of became the impetus for, wait, we could do this every holiday season, with our goal always being 60,000. And it's fun because some of our donors, that might be the only time of year that they donate, but they wait for it. They've either, I've got a couple of young guys who collect steel all year, and then they give us all their funds during our campaign. So for some of our donors, that's their time to give. So yeah, 15 years later, it's been pretty successful.
Oh, that's amazing, and congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
And if someone wanted to become a member or volunteer with Red Roof Retreat, what is the process for joining as a member or volunteer?
So we don't do a membership, but we do take volunteers. They have to be 18 years of old or older. And so there's a form right on our website. We have volunteers who work on the property with our animals. They're everything from mucking out stalls and feeding the animals to cutting the grass. But we also have volunteers who help us at events, and I usually post for that and say what we need. And we do have volunteers that come into the program, but of course, then you'd have to have your police check and be willing to do those sorts of things. But yeah, there's always an opportunity, and all people have to do is just reach out and ask.
And does Red Roof Retreat have any social media?
Yes, we do Facebook and Instagram, and people can message us and give us their emails, and we do email blasts on a regular basis. We don't overwhelm people. Trust me, we're very conscientious about that. But you'll get the highlights of the most important things that we're doing.
And what is the one thing that everyone needs to know about Red Roof Retreat?
So I'm so glad you asked that question, because after 25 years, we're not necessarily a common name, but people are starting to understand who we are. But what often gets missed is that we are not government funded. So we have a license from the ministry, which regulates how we provide our services, because obviously we're dealing with the vulnerable sector, but we do not get any money. This is a nonprofit, and every dollar we make goes into operations and programming and maintenance. So every cent that we make is through fundraising.
And unfortunately, we're running out of time today.
It's okay.
If listeners are looking for more information, how can they reach out to you?
The best way is to find us on the web, www.redroofretreat.com, Facebook or Instagram.
Thank you for coming on to Community Partners today, Steffanie.
Thank you, Paige. And anytime you need me back, that would be great.
I will. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And you've been listening to a Community Partners interview on Voices for Ability Radio, all abilities, all the time.